let's get rolling. The order of operations that I like to use when I'm rebuilding these boxes is first drill this rivet and liberate this bell crank using the drill guide that's supplied with the super pin. Then we'll get the super pin installed and tuned up. From there, we're going to work from the top side to replace the side-to-side cable end bushing through this access hole. Then we'll install the first gear getter. As I mentioned before, the first step is going to be using our JB Weld's 2-part epoxy to affix this drill guide over the head of this rivet. So it's going to allow us to drill a 5/16 inch or 8mm hole right here, which is going to liberate the bell crank from this forward pivot. We size the landing ledge of this drill guide such that it fits most of these rivet heads. This one, though, happens to be a little bit bigger, and as you can see, it does not fit flushly. So what I've done off camera is I've modified our drill guide by measuring the diameter here and selecting the appropriate sized bit, and I just skimmed this so that it'll fit on there squarely. Now that our drill guide is going to fit true with our bell crank, we'll just use our 2-part epoxy here. We don't want to go crazy. That's about 3 times more than we need. We'll just affix this here and hold it, and we're just going to use a rubber band to keep that drill guide nice and true. We're going to set that there, and we're going to walk away. We'll be back with you after this has been set up. Okay, now that our epoxy has fully hardened, we can remove the rubber band and drill the rivet head using our 5/16 or 8mm bit. It's very important that you use this size bit because the super pin is sized for the hole that this bit's going to make. Now this is going to be bolted in your car, so it's not going to move. I'm going to flip it on the side so we can better show you what's going on. We'll grab the drill and the safety glasses, and yeah, we're just going to carefully drill on center using the drill guide. All right, when you're finished drilling, you can just break the drill guide off, and this bell crank will be liberated from the forward pivot. And we'll just set this aside, and we'll remove the old pin here, as well as the dinky bushing that these cars come with. It's just a single bushing, and because it only has support on 3 sides, they tend to get flat and create a lot of play. So once that's out of there, you can go ahead and wipe the grease out of this hole, and we can start installing our super pin. Our super pin comes assembled like this, and we have a free spinner side with a black washer, and this is the big end. There's a step here, and then on the other side it's a gray washer, and it's smooth, and this is a lock nut, so it only threads on about a turn before it stops. And the pin gets oriented like this, with the black bushing facing the left side of the car and the gray bushing on the right side of the car. And the gray bushing we're going to insert in here. The black bushing is going to go in here. We split them, just expect that, that's normal. Press them on in here, and then we're going to check our fit. What we want is for this pin to slide in here all the way, and we want this edge to be flush, but sometimes what happens, and what's happening on this car, is that our nominal diameter of our shift box is a little bit small, and so our pin is actually binding in our bushings. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to get in here, and we're going to have to remove a little bit of material. Now, most cars, that's just going to fit perfectly, but we are just especially lucky today. What we've prepared is a piece of sandpaper. This is 220 around a felt tip pen, and it's going to act as a sanding stick. And so we're just going to work and remove material here. until we achieve the fit that we're looking for. And so we'll just sand a little bit and then we'll check our fit. Still tight. Pop it out. Keep going. All right, so this is actually feeling really good. So starting to feel really good. Yeah, we still have a little bit of a drag there, so I'm going to sand a tiny bit more, but we're getting almost there. That's really right where we want to be. You can just rotate it between your two fingers. So let's check out the other side. So that's the gray bushing. And that's a little bit tight. All right, so we're probably about good there. So we'll pop our bushings in, and then remember the big side is on the left of the car. And so we'll just guide this in here. And what we're looking for is just being able to turn this between our fingers smoothly without binding, but also not having any up and down play. And once we've achieved that, what we're going to do is we're going to position the shoulder of the pin here such that it's flush with the black bushing when it's threaded in all the way. So what we're going to do is we're going to start our lock nut here, and it's only going to go on about 1.5 turns, and then it's going to stop. As you can see, our landing ledge here is moving around. So what we'll do is we're going to counter hold by the wrench lands on the free spinner side while we tighten up the lock nut. And we're just setting the depth of the pin using the lock nut. We want the ledge to just be even with the flange of that bushing. So that is our adjusted super pin. If you want to test fit, is we just guide our bell crank back over the pin using the bell crank here, counter hold, just snug this down. You have it set up right, and in neutral, it'll move, it'll pivot freely and return to center like it's supposed to, but it's not going to have that slop that you had before. The super pin includes a new side-to-side cable end bushing, and that side-to-side cable end bushing is visible through this access hole here, and there's going to be there's a bottom plate on this shift box. But yeah, this is your opportunity to get to your side-to-side cable end bushing. And if you're not doing a super pin and you want to replace the cable end bushing, you have to go from below. But by divorcing the bell crank from the forward pivot and installing a super pin, you have access to this bushing. Now on this box, this bushing is in really good shape. We're going to leave this one alone, but if you want to replace the cable end bushing, you reach in here with the pry tool, free the bell crank from the cable end. What you'll be working with down in the hole is this cable end. And it's important that you don't bend this any more than you absolutely have to, because this cable is in a tube here. And so if you pull up on it real aggressively, either the side to side or the front to back, you can kink this tube, and then if you bend this tube, you end up having to put a cable in it. But there is enough movement here that you can pop that bushing out of there and install a new one. But this is for demonstration purposes. We have a cable end here, but you install it in the eye. It really doesn't matter which side the flange is on. And it's a press fit, it's a precision press fit. And you can work it on there. And then since the factory bushing has little teeth, we include a clip because you're not going to have any way to hold this on there. And so you have this little black spring clip, and it just slides on here like that. Okay, so next step in our rebuild of this Mark 6 shifter box is going to be to replace the first gear getter. You just reach up from below and lift this tab. We are going to epoxy and mechanically affix our high performance replacement first gear getter onto this aluminum nub. The first step is to make sure that the aluminum nub is free of dirt and oil and grease. So I've got a little bit of solvent here, brake cleaner, but isopropyl alcohol also works. Make sure that's nice and clean. From there, we're going to dry fit the first gear getter onto the nub. We have a 3/32 inch hole right here at the end. We're going to drill into this nub down about 1/2 inch. So we'll just set our drill down in there, and then we're going to mark 1/2 inch or so. All right. Pop our fig back off. Wipe this off once again. All right, now we're just going to get our epoxy down in the fig here. Probably about enough. Slip that on there. I put way too much, so we've got it coming out the hole and coming out the hole again. We'll just push it on there all the way. And then we'll take our little baby number 440 bolts and washer. We'll just get this guy started. And we'll just go ahead and thread this in. Until it snugs down. And it'll start to get pretty tight because you're threading that aluminum that you drilled. And you don't have to go crazy. You just need enough on there that it binds that washer. We can get our spring in place. So sometimes this will trip people up, but you've just got that one leg and you take the other leg here and you flip it on down. Next, we'll take our bell crank and we'll slip it back on because we've already set the depth on our first gear getter. Spin our free spinner down. And as I mentioned before, you don't want to go crazy because you can snap this. So really, if you just counter hold between the bottom of the bell crank here and your wrench and just squeeze those two parts together with your fingers, that's all you need. We're just going to let this set up until that epoxy is fully cured. That's about it.